JetBlue Mint is one of the most beloved premium products in the sky, and today we are going to fly it from New York JFK to London Heathrow. It's a day flight. We're going to take a quick look at the Hyatt Regency JFK, where I stayed the night before, how we got over to the hotel, the fact that there is no lounge and why I always grab a Starbucks, and then, is it worth paying a little bit extra to sit in the Mint Studio versus the Mint Suite? And as always, we're going to view every single part of this product, from the food to the seat, the comparisons between the suite and the studio, and how we booked every little thing so you can make the best decision should you want to fly this product. Let's pick it up in New York.
Wakey, wakey, time to go fly JetBlue Mint. I've actually never done a day flight to England, so I'm going to be leaving at 8:30, which is why it's so early right now. And then I land in England at 8:30 at night, which I think should make jet lag better because I don't have to sleep for like 3 hours on a plane. Let's go. So we are right now at the Hyatt Regency JFK at Resorts World. Booked this last minute because tomorrow I'm flying JetBlue Mint over to London, and this is basically a standard room. I've stayed here a couple times before, and they have upgraded me to a suite, but this time the hotel is really quite busy. It's actually down. Oh, there we go. And you can see I'm looking out at the back of the building. Anyways, I like this hotel. It's just sort of inconvenient. I took an Uber. You can take a shuttle, and that shuttle, I think it drops you off on the A train, and then or by the A train, and you can take the A train on over to the airport. Let's see, just in case you want. Oh, turn that off. You can turn around here. You can see got the safe and the bottled water, but it's a nice room. Let's go check out the rest of the hotel. I'll show you some old footage that's here before, and basically it's all the same, but let's go check that out. All right, we're at the Hyatt Regency Resorts World, which it says it's at the JFK airport, but it's actually about 15, 20 minutes away by Uber, $30, but this is better than any other airport hotels. So now we're headed back over, just waiting for that Oobs. Let's see.
I was able to book JetBlue Mint suites with 78,000 Qatar Airways Avios and about $10. Now, Avios can be transferred between any of the different programs, whether it's British Airways, Iberia, Aer Lingus, etc. And those are all transfer partners of American Express, Bilt, Chase, Capital One, or Citi. Sadly, since booking this ticket, JetBlue has started blocking some of the space to partners, and it's become more difficult to use Avios to book JetBlue, but that is how I booked it.
All right, here we go. JetBlue Mint. I went and just upgraded to the studio. So let's go check out this bad boy. This is a single aisle A321T JFK to London Heathrow day flight. So we're gonna land. Hopefully the sun is still up. Go check this bad boy out.
As I mentioned, I upgraded into the Mint Studio for $299. Now, I had been tracking the seat map, and the front two seats in either row is where the studio is at. They were vacant up until check-in, and I actually asked at check-in if it was available to upgrade, and they couldn't do it. But then as soon as I got into the line for security, my app showed that it was available, and I went ahead and pulled the trigger. I figured if I was sitting in the studio, I could compare the studio with the suite and see whether or not it was actually worth the extra $299. Follow along and see what you think.
Here we go.
All right, let's have a look at the JetBlue Mint Studio, and then later on we will compare it to the suite. First off, the TV is much larger. You have a 22-inch TV. You have a much larger storage cabinet. You have more places to actually plug in your devices. There's multiple international plugs, as well as USB-A, and I believe USB-C as well. As you can see, the studio has 2 windows. You're also going to have a buddy seat, and it makes into a much larger bed. There you can see the 22-inch TV. It also has a pull-out storage cabinet underneath. I think that JetBlue really hit a home run with the amount of storage that they actually included within the studio. The suite is still very nice, and we'll have a closer look at that later. I think one of the places that JetBlue absolutely thrives, and this is whether you're sitting in the studio, in just normal Mint suites, or even just in standard economy class, they have excellent food. And as you can see, you actually order your food just via the IFE. Very easy, very straightforward, and then it comes when they're going to do the meal service. It's very simple, and I actually quite like this way of ordering because it's like you know that you're going to get exactly what you want rather than by the time the flight attendant comes by and they say, oh, I'm sorry, sir, we're out of the chicken or we're out of whatever it is that you want, and you're sort of left scrambling and you're sitting there wishing that you had pre-ordered your food before you even got onto the plane. But I would have to say thus far, I'm very impressed with the size of the Mint Studio. Now, would I necessarily pay this extra money on a overnight flight where you're just going to be sleeping? Probably not. That's my initial impression, getting a quick glance back at the other Mint suites. All right, it's time to pull back and enjoy this beautiful day. We are on a day flight to London. The flight is about 7 to 7.5 hours scheduled. However, we did it in about 6.5, I believe. So there's a nice look at Long Island as we're pulling away. Now, the amenity kit is stocked with Dennis Gross products, and I would not have known anything about Dennis Gross aside from the fact that my wife loves their products. Especially there's a night cream that she always uses, which is in an orange container. Bathroom, look, we're on a narrow body plane. You know, there's only one aisle, so you're going to get a narrow body bathroom, but you do have a baby changing station, which is nice. Now, back to the Mint suite. So this is the standard suite. This is what everyone else is going to be sitting in if you didn't do the studio. And I would say it is quite narrow compared to the studio. However, would I pay the extra money if all I was going to do was sleep? I don't think that I would. As you can see, there's the full cabin. It's just 1-1. But we're not trying to sleep. We're going to work. We're going to film. We're going to play. So I think that this is actually worth it because you'll be able to enjoy all of the extra space versus if you're just on a overnight, you're getting on the plane, you're just wanting to sleep. I'd stick with the JetBlue Mint Suite and save that $299. Now, if you're like me and you're going to enjoy all the food, you're going to do some work, maybe I'm flying alone, but if you had somebody else you're flying with, would that person come over and hang out with you during this, 6 or 7 hour flight? Yeah, I think that's the entire purpose of the studio. Now let's talk about the food. That meal I just had was absolutely excellent. JetBlue thrives in this regard. Now you can compare to the Mint Suites with the studio. Look how much space I have. It's absolutely incredible. If I did have one little demerit to give it, the leg rest on the buddy seat is supposed to fully extend and make a larger bed. That did not work. And if we're getting nitpicky, the door height is not really that high, and it doesn't fully close. There's actually a little bit of a gap that you can still see even when you pull the door shut. One big reason why I'd also think that you would potentially get the studio is if you're traveling with a little one, because you'd have so much more space. You can plop them down on the ground, you can sit them next to you. That would actually be a pretty integral reason to use one of these studios versus the suite. Or if you're quite a bit bigger than I am, I'm 6 feet, between 170 and 180, and it was a little bit tight for me. So if you're much larger than I am, you might think about the studio. I absolutely love this feature. Watch a little ad and where they're going to give you complimentary Wi-Fi on an international flight. It's provided by Viasat, and while I didn't measure any of the upload or download speeds, I found it to be pretty quick. And let's just take a minute to admire again how good this food looks, and it tasted even better. That pizza was delicious, and I've had so many different types of pizza on flights, and they've just been dry or they've been hard or whatever. This was perfect. It was crisp on the bottom, it was soft in the middle, the cheese was melted, and this is a little tomato and burrata salad. The food is excellent. They really thrive on that. The customer service was great as well. Let's pick it up after landing, but I was impressed, and I would do this flight again in a heartbeat. Pretty good flights. If I lived in New York, I would be hitting that up to pop over here, and I would do the day flight as well. I feel much better. I'm tired. I'm gonna go sleep right now. So I liked it. I liked it.